Hey guys, this is Brad P. coming to you from LA. I got one of my students, Baron, with me here today. He's going to talk to you about the first couple of days of getting out and approaching and what it was like for him because he was a beginner just like you and he learned originally from me and used my openers and my techniques when he was learning. And Baron's at the point in his game right now where he's getting some real good results and he's getting some great experiences with some great women. So, hello, Baron. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing, Brad?
I'm good. So why don't we just start with tell us a little bit about the overall results you've got in your game and how long you've been at it and stuff like that.
Okay. I started this stuff like around a couple years ago, 2 years ago. First, I didn't have a car, so I was just doing day gaming around Los Angeles and just going doing the street sets, that kind of stuff. But about a year later, I started going out to clubs, working on the peer group stuff, and actually getting some really sick results of that. I've been doing that for about a year now, and right now I can say I can get some pretty cool results out of it. So,
Excellent. Yes, I've seen some of the fine chicks you've been rolling with these days.
Really?
So, yes, very impressive. Okay, so what I want to ask you about, and I think this is going to be really helpful to the new guys.
Yeah.
That are just starting out. I remember when I was first starting, I was just going out and talking to any girl I could find and using anything I could think of, and it took a few months before it started to actually make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the hardest time. Once you're getting girls and getting results and getting phone numbers, everything starts to get easier. So to me, the key is just getting through the first couple of months and not getting down on yourself when stuff is hard. And after that, it gets really rewarding. So I want to ask you about your first couple of months when you didn't have your car and you were just going out in the daytime and trying to meet girls on the street. I want you to tell me a little bit about that and what you were trying and what you were using and what was it like.
Okay, cool. That was a long time ago. Basically, just rolling around, finding whatever I could find. But back then, I wasn't as aggressive as I was. Creative avoidance is what I believe we call it, just
Okay,
avoiding.
so tell me about creative avoidance.
Creative avoidance, is basically figuring out reasons why you should not approach that set. It's very self-limiting, thing that newer students will do. So in a day that you could have done like 20 approaches, you wind up doing like 4 because you find out reasons. Oh, she's with a guy, she's with this, she looks like this, she's on her cell phone, so...
Yeah, it's a very common problem. I remember when I first heard that phrase, I realized that, the human mind is such an amazing thing. We're so imaginative. When we're afraid, we think of all kinds of things to justify that fear,
Yeah.
I can't talk to her, she's with a guy. Oh, she looks like she's in a hurry. She's not cute enough. She's too hot.
Exactly.
So many things.
Exactly. But yeah, I was running your horse girl. That went good. Trying to work on my posture. I was out there in the summer, burning my ass off, just on the street,
So you were on the street in
in Pasadena.
In Pasadena, so that's kind of like a suburban area.
Suburban
right?
area, yeah.
So you're in
kind of a shopping area though. So
okay, so kind of like a mall or like outdoor
exactly,
mall.
outdoor kind of shopping district sort of thing.
Okay, so there were women around. It wasn't completely devoid of women.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
But you find that with the creative avoidance and approach anxiety, which kind of go hand in hand when it comes down to it. You find that you're only working at half of what you could actually be doing. So it's just a matter of getting through that approach anxiety and being comfortable with it and realizing that it's a very necessary part of your game, which is what you talk about so much. And so you just gotta just do it until you have to just approach and get through that approach anxiety and get through those blowouts and until you're okay with it. You realize that you're fine with it.
So how long did it take you before you stopped being scared?
I gotta say it was maybe a month. It depends, actually maybe like a month, 2 months.
Okay, so for the first month or two, it was real scary. I found that to be my experience as well. In the beginning, I don't remember that much about the conversations I had in the beginning. All I remember is feeling really scared,
Totally.
So it was hard, but But once that went away, it was very liberating. I remember saying to myself, it's just so liberating to be able to say, I can go talk to any girl I want to right now.
Totally.
No matter who she's with, no matter what she's up to, no matter where I am. And that just opens up so many doors for you.
Totally. And it's another thing about it is when I first started out, I was not closing. Actually, I was just going in there, just doing my.
You were not getting numbers.
Wasn't getting numbers. I was just opening, doing my little rap, getting the fuck out of there. And I feel like it kind of slowed me down because if you don't do those closes, if you never do them, you never get better at them, which is kind of, that's just common knowledge. If you don't do number closes, you won't get better at them. You need to be trying to do that as soon as possible. So you get better at it, and you just excel faster and you learn faster.
One thing I've come up with to make this a little easier for the new guys is that now it's month 2. They've studied and worked on their identity for all of month 1,
right?
And now it's month 2. They're doing something I call baselining. So baselining is when you go out and you talk to 30 women throughout the course of 30 days.
Yeah.
And the only reason you're doing it is just to test where you're at. You're not necessarily looking for a lot of results, or you're not looking to defeat approach anxiety 100% yet. All you're trying to see is, if I approach 30 women, how many of them are going to be willing to talk to me? How many are going to blow me out? How many will give me their number and their email?
Right.
And in the beginning, what I've learned is it should be just about testing your level. It shouldn't even be about, trying to get a girlfriend in the first month. It's just about seeing where you're at and exploring. So
Totally.
I'm thinking that's I've found that helps the new guys a lot, and it takes some of the pressure off them.
Oh yeah, definitely. If when you're out there and you're just, if they feel like, actually I can speak from experience. If you feel like when you're out there sergeant, if you feel like, oh my God, I have to sleep with 10 women, or I have to get this, I have to get that, it starts to make everything a little worse. But if you're just out there and you're just trying to test the waters, see where you're at, you can totally just see where you're at.
Yeah. I think it's important in the beginning not to put too much pressure on yourself and not to sweat it too much, because it is supposed to be fun, Yeah. That's one thing I remember about when I was first learning. I was in, very random towns where I had never been before, and I would go out in the daytime. I remember I went to this college campus, and there was just girls sitting on the lawn, and I would just go talk to them. And I only had one opener back then.
Yeah.
I had one opener. Hey, do you guys know any place to get cotton candy around here?
Yeah.
At this time of the day. And I just did that over and over, and eventually it started to be fun for me, and I would go out at night and do the same thing, and that's how I learned. Yeah, in the beginning it's important not to be pressuring yourself, and even if you're out with a friend of yours, to not pressure each other, just to try to have fun and just test it out and see how it's going.
Yeah.
So Baron, when you were first learning, I remember you telling me you were actually going out alone a lot of the times.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit about going out alone, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about going out with a friend or a wingman?
Yeah, sure. When you're out alone, you learn to be comfortable in your own skin. You learn to have it be okay that you're out alone in a public place where people are in groups. Mm-hmm. And this goes for street sergeant, or even when you're in a club. I would say more so when you're in a club. People will ask, you have to be totally comfortable and fine with just being a guy standing alone there. And you'll develop those muscles, you'll develop and it'll help your identity grow and help a lot of other things in the process. Totally.
Yeah, I was working alone a lot when I was learning too. I would say I was out about 80% of the time alone, and the other 20% of the time I would be with my friends who were naturals.
Right.
I remember going out alone when I was first starting out, and I'd be out alone at night, and occasionally somebody would say, hey, you're out alone, where are your friends? And I would just say, I'm kind of an adventurous guy, and I go out alone sometimes, or other times I would say, oh, they just left, and I didn't find it to be a huge problem. It's a lot of people really panic about that question, and I think if you're okay with the fact that you're out alone, other people will be okay with it also, but you have to be okay with it first. That's definitely really important.
Yeah, definitely. And you can when they ask you that question, you can definitely turn it around with some humor and turn it on them, some stalker stuff. You know?
Yeah. Oh, why are you asking me all these questions?
Yeah,
Oh,
seriously.
you're just...
I'll fax my resume tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. What I used to do, when I was starting to get pretty good, I was still a little freaked out by going out alone. This one time I just went, and this was kind of an experiment, I just walked into the middle of the dance floor, and I just stood there by myself, and everybody was dancing around me, and I was not even dancing. And I remember it felt so weird at first.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to expose myself to that pressure, just to see what it was like and what would happen. And after about 5 minutes, the pressure went away, and I didn't feel funny anymore. And as soon as I didn't feel funny anymore, people just came up and started talking to me, because something in me had changed and seemed more attractive, I guess.
Very nice.
So that was a good learning experience for me when I was first learning. So tell me a little bit about when you go out in groups or go out with a male friend or even a female friend when you're starting out.
Well, you have to first off, it's beneficial to know how to help your wing and vice versa. It's very beneficial. So it pays to read up about that before you go out.
Well, tell us right now. Tell us about how to help you wing.
Okay, here, totally. First thing, if you're winging for your friend, what you're gonna want to do is not get too involved with the set. You want to be there. You want to be within it, but you don't want to start, gaming his. Well, first, obviously, don't game his girl. You want to be part of the set, but don't try to steal the spotlight from him. He opened it, and occupy those friends. Get all those obstacles.
So the
out
guy
of his
who
way.
opened gets to be the star, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because if you start competing with him, you're just shooting yourselves in the feet.
Right. Both of you lose your value.
Both you guys lose your value. You're supposed to be friends. Don't do that in front of some. It's gonna look weird. So what you're gonna want to do is just talk to her friends. Keep those friends out of your wing's way. Let your wing be alone with that girl, and let him do his entire thing. But it's talk to the friends about anything, as long as you keep them engaged.
So
Just
you
keep them out
kind
of
of entertain them so he can do his thing.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
yeah, that's what a good wingman does.
Yeah.
That's true. And then when you open a group of girls, he's going to do the same for you.
Exactly. But don't.
Let's talk about when you're out with a bunch of girls, or maybe you're out with one girl, and you're going to do some approaches in that situation.
Sure. Well, you can use that girl to your advantage very, very much. I mean, inherently, you just definitely get more value by rolling into a place with some chicks, obviously. So that's definitely cool.
So when you go into a place and you have even one girl with you, the other girls are going to look at you and say, well, he must be a cool guy because he has a girl with him, or he has a group of girls with him. And the more girls you have with you, the cooler other women will assume you are. Women think as a group. If one girl thinks you're cool, 2 or 3 more girls will assume you're cool, and that's just the way it works.
And when you're with them, you can have them open sets, and trust me, girls are very, very talented at just being. It's bizarre to me sometimes how good women are at just these social interactions.
They'll just start conversations with everyone.
They'll just start conversations with everyone. So you can have them do the work for you, or you can open sets and have them essentially wing for you and occupy girls, guys, whatever. Even guys is preferable, because if the friends of the target girl you're going for start flirting with the girl you came with, then you're pretty much set there. So it works out for everyone. Totally.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about how long were you doing your approaches before you actually started to get some results and get some phone numbers and emails and stuff like that?
Man, I did it a little backwards, honestly. I went out all summer a couple years ago. I was just in Pasadena doing street sets, and Then I started really getting results a couple months later when I started to drive and I started to just go out and go to clubs every night, 24/7, 7 nights a week, 7 nights a week.
7 nights a week club game, huh?
Exactly. And you just go, the more you do it, the faster you learn. So you just have to adopt procedure, make sure you're learning the right materials, and if you go out and you do it enough, you'll just get better at it.
That is true. You actually, when I first started teaching you, I didn't have everything mapped out the way I do now in terms of learning things in the right order. But I would say you were doing it about a year before you did Social Circle Club Game, probably, right?
Yeah,
in total.
Exactly.
Yeah, the way I have the curriculum set up now, I mean, now we're in month 2, and so all people are doing is testing the waters and seeing how much work they need. But we will be building presence in month 3, social freedom in month 4, interaction skills in month 5, all the way up to doing Social Circle Club Game in month 11 for these guys who stick with it and stay the course. So a lot of them will get, some really good results like you got, but right now it's all about building the foundation and building the social skills
Exactly.
and getting your feet wet and just getting started with it.
You need, it's if you're going to start doing it backwards and start doing club game or something before you get all this shit handled, believe me, you won't get what you want out of it. So
yeah, I've seen people try to do that, and I just find that it makes it more painful than it needs to be. Going and doing game at really difficult clubs and the hottest girls right in the beginning, it just makes all the approach anxiety harder. And I mean, if you're a really ambitious guy and you feel like jumping right in, more power to you. But I think this should be a painless process, and it should be doing things the easy way. I'm a big believer in doing things the easy way, and if you learn things in the right order, and if you take it step by step, one step at a time, you can learn it in 12 months instead of having to learn it in 3 years. And that's the idea of taking it slow.
Exactly.
It makes it more efficient.
Exactly.
That way. So let's talk about some really hardcore rejections, because I know we've both been through them. And it doesn't necessarily have to kill your night, and it doesn't have to kill your game. I mean, to me, at this point, I feel it's just more part of playing the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, just like any other game. So tell me about a few of your magic moments out there.
Okay, best magic moment. I remember this exactly. I was in Pasadena, like I was saying earlier, just starting out, whatever. There was three cute girls sitting on a bench. I went up to them. I did horse girl. But, however, I didn't realize that breathing was a prerequisite while you did this opener. So I basically spit it out as one big word the entire opener. By like 3/4 of the way through, I had to pause for a good 3 seconds and just breathe in, and because I was out of fucking breath, honestly. So I finished the opener, and they just kind of looked at me a little dazed and confused, and I was out of there, to say the least.
So they didn't tell you, like, get lost or you're a loser or anything like that?
They kind of acted a little confused, and I believe I was so self-conscious about the whole out of breath thing that I wanted to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
Right, so you took yourself out.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So was it the end of the world, or was it the end of the day, or what happened from there?
Definitely not. Later on that day, there was a girl who I saw running out of a store, and I caught up to her, and I was like, "Hey, did you steal a bunch of shit?" And she was totally into it. She was throwing me. She was telling me I was funny. I was really into it. So I got a number off that. That was actually one of the few number closes I got out of the time of street sergeant there when I first started out. So it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter if the girl slaps you or throws a drink in your face, which is a little extreme, but your night's not over, and it's just a part of, you just got to get the bad ones out of the way. You just have to look at it. The more you get blown out, the more good girls you're going to meet.
That's right. I totally agree. I think there's been a lot of dramatization of rejection, and people make a bigger deal out of it than it really needs to be. Like, for example, like you mentioned, like getting a drink thrown in your face. It's something that really just never happens. I mean, has it ever happened to you?
Never. I have never once. I've gone out a lot. I've gone out 7 nights a week for a good year. Never been slapped. Never been threatened by a woman. It's total. It's only in the movies. Save it for Hollywood. Really.
Yeah, and I think a lot of guys, when they're beginners, they feel like some dramatic rejection is going to occur, and maybe it's something that they'll never be able to recover from. But it just doesn't really work that way, and it's all in your head. Even if you get rejected, it's something that you can recover from very quickly.
Exactly.
I remember I was actually teaching a workshop. I do live instruction. I was teaching this workshop. And the first group of girls I talked to, it was Fashion Week in New York City, and they were dressed to the nines. They were, perfect, both of them, gorgeous girls. And I said, hey, do you like horses? And they just started cursing at me. They were like, fuck you, get out of here, get lost. Now, keep in mind, I'm in front of 4 students, so I'm supposed to be good at this. So this could be very damaging,
right?
But, I laughed it off. They walked away. That's probably the only time I've been blown out, and rejected really, really hard like that, to the point where girls were cursing. And it was in front of 4 students. And later that night, I took 6 phone numbers. I took home a girl, and I remember the student said to me, wow, how do you feel about that? That was pretty harsh. And I said, I feel better now that I got out of the way. It's
right.
It's like jumping into a pool. Once you get in and the water's real cold, it hurts for the first 3 seconds, and then you feel fine 5 minutes later.
Right.
So for me, it was almost like it got me amped up, and it got me excited to be out and to be meeting people and to have stuff happening. Because if you're not out there playing the game, you're not going to get anything out of it. So you got to take the good with the bad. And even at this stage where I can meet women easily anytime I want, I expect about 20% of my approaches to be rejections, because I run a real aggressive style of game, and I find that if 20% of the girls are just like, whoa, you're way too aggressive, I'm not into it, that is when I get my best results.
Right.
Because I'm filtering those girls out.
Yeah. You need, if nobody's batting 1,000. Nobody gets every girl they go for. Not even Michael Jordan. Get it out of your head. It's not going to happen. So if you're not getting rejected, it's abnormal that you're not getting rejected. You need to expect it, and you need to be prepared for it. And the only way you get used to it is just by doing it a lot. So you just got to go out a lot. That's what I did. I went out 7 nights a week, and I've had some really terrible nights. I've had some really great nights. But once you just get through those experiences, it doesn't matter anymore, and you succeed. You succeed.
One of my old basketball coaches used to have this saying. I played college basketball, and he used to say, listen, guys, you're never as good as you think you are on your best day, and you're never as bad as you feel you are in your worst day.
Exactly.
You're probably in reality somewhere in the middle. So don't take that best day that seriously, and don't take that worst day that seriously either.
Exactly.
And I think it's absolutely true, and it's something that applies not only to sports, basketball, but it also applies to meeting women and going out and trying to get this stuff learned and get this handled. So tell us a little about rejection and how it can work for some people as filtering to filter out girls who aren't fun or aren't compatible with you.
Yeah, sure. You just need to make sure you're using the kind of openers that get rid of girls that you don't want to be around. So, for instance, if you're just going in there with something, as we call it, neutral, if you go in with some neutral, just flat, boring thing, then you might just be wind up talking to some girl who likes to talk about opinions forever, just likes to just talk about whatever. And you might be sitting there for a good amount of time where you could be actually meeting the kind of girls that you want to be. And so that means, you need to use material that really projects the right things at the right time. So if you go in with something really high impact, like Horse Girl, Oprah, anything like that, I mean, it's pretty shocking stuff. It blows people. It'll blow people away. So And,
Yeah.
and if you use those kind of things on certain girls, they just shy away, and you can be on your way finding better girls where they're more compatible with you. So
So a rejection doesn't always necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you.
no, definitely not.
It could mean that you and the girl just aren't compatible.
Totally. I mean, hey, there's a lot of psychos out there too. I mean, this is the world we live in. You know, not every beautiful woman is some little angel. You know, everyone has their problems. Some people are boring. Some people are insane. You know, you never know. So
Yeah, that's true.
how it goes sometimes.
I think when you're in the beginning and you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with having a long, pointless conversation.
Yeah.
Because it just helps you build comfort in talking to women.
Yeah.
So it's great. But you will reach a point where it's time to use some more high octane stuff. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There are some techniques that will open a large percentage of the time. Like, for example, the psychologist opener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is in the Instant Attraction book. The psychologist opener, you're never going to get rejected from using that.
Right.
On the other hand, you're not going to get laid using that either.
No way.
So sometimes the things that get you rejected the most are also the things that get you laid the most, and it just comes from risk taking. Girls like guys who take risks and aren't scared and things like that. I actually had a really hot girl say something interesting to me recently. And then this girl lives in, a rural area, and she's been traveling into the city doing runway modeling lately, and so she's moving to New York to pursue her modeling career. And she said, "I'm really excited to move to New York because the boys there aren't scared of me."
Yeah, exactly.
Because women don't like guys who are scared of them.
Nope.
But if you're a beginner, and like we said, it's all about testing the waters this month, you can use a psychologist opener, and you can use some more neutral stuff, and it'll get you that conversational comfort. But keep in mind that there will come a time when it's time to upgrade, and it's time to take risks, and it's time to show women that you're not the kind of guy who's scared of social situations.
Exactly.
And that's real important. So Baron, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Any parting shots? I mean, you've been doing this for a couple of years.
Okay.
And you've gotten some hot girls. Tell us any parting shots, any wisdom you have for them.
The biggest thing that you can do is do it as much as you can. The more you do it, the better you'll be at it. That's the bottom line. And don't go try to go out every night. If you got work that next day at 10:30 like I did, fuck it, you're going out. You're going to sleep at 3 a.m. That's how it goes. So try to do it as much as you can. Just be strong about it and learn that it's just your path, So
all right, great advice. Thanks a lot, Baron.
No problem.